Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. This is going to be a very, very volatile week. I just posted on Twitter. We have a lot of things going on. One, put to call ratio, which is right here. This is what it was last week. We're still fairly high on, well, we are still extreme levels, but not as high as last week, last Monday. We could end up going higher. I'll explain that in a second. I just want to get through the other stuff first. We have FOMC on Wednesday. This is going to be a big one. This is where they're going to raise rates, supposedly, which, and how much they raise it, if they do, is 25, 50, 75 basis points. I don't know. But you have the statement at 2 o'clock. Then you have the press conference at 2:30. Now, this is going to be a big one where you're going to have potentially 2 to 3 really massive moves. Usually when you do have a big FOMC day, you usually end up having at least 2 to 3 massive moves. So you don't want to miss that. With the high put to call ratio, I would expect at least to see, I wouldn't be surprised if SPY ends up having a red day tomorrow, then having a really strong dead cat bounce on Tuesday to cool off the put to call ratios, and then going into FOMC to pop them again. So that's going to be, that's one of two scenarios is going to end up happening. We're either going to dip and rip tomorrow and chop Tuesday and dump on FOMC day, or we're going to drop tomorrow, which is Monday, and we're going to have a short squeeze on Tuesday, then we're going to dump on Wednesday. So I think one of those two things are going to happen. Well, I could be wrong. That's what I'm thinking. Put to call ratios are very, very high. And if we end up dropping, gapping down and dropping tomorrow, they're going to be really, really high again. They're going to be higher than probably what they were right here last Monday. And then you're going to need to cool off before FOMC. So that's why I think that we'll have a massive pop on Tuesday if Monday is a red day. So Monday red, Tuesday pop, Monday pop, Tuesday chop. So that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. Then we have lots of data coming. Looking at the economic calendar, I was surprised at how much data is coming out this week. We get ISM manufacturing PMI coming out Monday morning at 10 a.m. Then we have JOLTS opening at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, which is what the FOMC looks at, the Fed looks at. Then you have Wednesday morning, you have non-farm employment change, which is ADP. Then you have FOMC later that day. Then you have on Friday, you have unemployment change, unemployment rate, non-farm employment change, unemployment rate. So, that's just Canada's unemployment rates. But yeah, we have our unemployment rate and non-farm employment change coming on Friday too at 8:30 in the morning. So lots of big data. I think we're going to see some massive 10 to 15 point swing days this week. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up having one consolidation day, but we're going to get some massive swings this week. So that's what I'm expecting. So the watch list, I mean, it's going to be basically all eyes are going to be on the Fed and the put to call ratio. So I already said what I think is going to happen. Monday will determine what's going to happen the rest of the week. If we're red tomorrow, Tuesday will be the big put to call cool off day. So that's what I'm expecting. So yeah, this was last Monday. This is where it's at now. We could definitely exceed that and go higher, which is I just put the weekly. I didn't update it. There we go. So over here was a COVID crash, which is when it was at a 1.67, and it hasn't been this high since the COVID crash. So we could go much higher, but we'll have to see. I'm anticipating they're going to cool it down. So with that said, I'm going to I get a few on here. I'm going to look at a lot of the big stocks that we watch, but Tesla, yeah, that's on there, but SPY, it's going to be depending on the put to call ratio. If it does manage to lose, I think SPY is going to go into 400 this week, or at least to 400, but we'll have to see what happens. But anyways, if it does break below 410, let me just got to get this out of there. Under 410, you got 400 be a big psychological number. Then you get this 395, 390, 385. That's going to be really, really extreme. But I'm anticipating we're going to have some kind of dead cat bounce. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up at 425 or 430 before we end up having another massive drop down. But I'll be watching it either or. It's kind of more risky on the downside at this point with the put to call ratio so high, but they do have room to go higher. So that's why I'm kind of like skeptical about tomorrow. Tomorrow could be red. Even if it's red, it could be a range day. I mean, it could be a day where it's just chops. Then they pop a Tuesday. So yeah, I would watch it over 415. I'll be watching it on both sides over under 410 or over 415. I have to see if it gaps up huge tonight or whatever. So let's get over 415. Probably pushed it for 420, possibly even 425 or 430. 430 be pretty significant, but SPY has these big green days. They can have a monster day. Look right here. What was the range on this day? 420 to 4. That's a 20-point day. Holy crap, that's a lot. That's a big day. What is this one? 410 to 420. Yeah, it's an 18-point day. This is the last time it was down to 410 right here. But look, it had a massive gap down that it just ripped. So we do have a gap down. We could end up seeing a day like this. I mean, what was the range? Yeah, that's not that. But we could end up seeing a nice strong bounce to 430. So it would make sense to have a bounce because of the put to call ratios being so high going into FOMC, but the market's so scared of what the Fed's going to do. The supposedly dialing back the balance sheet, or but they end up having record repos every day. So I don't see them doing that, but it is what it is, I guess. But the Fed is dumping this much repo in the market and having this much money into the market, and it's just they're supposedly winding it down, which they don't see that at this point. But they're out of bullets. The market's just gonna. The Fed has put so much money into the market and so much liquidity that it's drove inflation to the roof, and they're backed into a corner where they're going to be responsible for the crash, even though they're blaming Russia for the inflation. But Russia just happened a couple months ago, and inflation's been raging for years. So the Feds and the government, U.S. government, blaming Russia are just a bunch of idiots. So my opinion. So, but yeah, that's what my take is on SPY. 415. If it does get over that, probably a rush to 425, 430. And on Apple, I'm watching. Now, the news is going to have a great deal of what's happening. So one thing I do find interesting on Apple, it's been holding this trend line. I mean, it gets to this trend line right here, and it bounces. It didn't quite get here, but on the weekly, it's close. So, this would have been the bottom of the weekly right here. But we could see a little bit of a push down to the 155, then actually try to bounce off that. That will probably be depending on what the market's doing, and if it's taking a crap or not. So we'll have to see if that does that. But if it does get to 155, I will watch for a possible bounce right there. So I have to see what happens with that over 150 at 155 for a bounce. If not, watch over 160 for a push to 162 to 165. But with having no guidance and downgrades, it could end up going to 155. Now, if it does get to 155 and doesn't bounce, the next big level is probably 150, which is right here. You get 155, which is this trend line and this pivot right here. So you can see it's resistance right here, support right here, and it did kind of bounce through it. So 155, 150 is definitely important for Apple. So I'd watch those two levels right there. But if they break that, it's going to get very, very ugly. 140 could come really quick if it does break the 155, 150 level. Next is Netflix. Netflix is just taking a beating. I keep doing that Netflix. I don't know why I do that, but oh my god, look at Netflix. It's just down to 190, 193. I'm probably gonna have to go to the like the monthly. Go out 10 years maybe. See what it looks like 10 years. Wow, look at that. That is so nasty. $700 back in what is this? 2021. November 2021, and look at it now. Oh my god, that is so horrifying to look at. Imagine if you were this person that bought it here at $700. That's just crazy. Anyways, I think that Netflix could go lower. I mean, it's got just the 193 level. I mean, you got 180. I mean, 165. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to get much lower. To me, I'm red on my dip buy on Netflix, but I don't really care. If anything, I will add more to it. I left room to add a lot more to it, so I will add to it if it does get any lower. And so I would watch it over. And if the market takes a dump, Netflix is going to go with it, obviously, because the FOMC, if it dumps, 90% of the market's going to go with it. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. So go back to the daily. Was it the weekly? Yeah, it was the weekly. So yeah, I would watch Netflix over. God, it's so nasty right there. Over 200. It's at 190 now. Let's see if I can bring it down to the 10-minute. Trying to get it better. Yeah, over 190, 193 for push to 200. Then you get the 205 area. Now it's been having a hard time with the 205 area. If it does get over the 205, let's see, 205. Then you get the basically every $5, 210, 215, 220, 225 is where it's really having trouble getting over. So definitely keep an eye on Netflix for a possible bounce. I mean, this is just so nasty. I mean, the RSI is what, 20 on the weekly. That's just crazy. Then you got BABA. BABA's one I'm be watching too. BABA, you have this massive gap up right here. It gapped up, sold a little bit off. So we'll have to see what it does. If it gaps up tomorrow, because I know that they had news, something about China releasing some of the, not releasing, but not being as stringent with its China policies on the stocks or whatever. So they're kind of like dialing it back a little bit, and that's why we had the massive gap, but it started to drop. But anytime you have a BABA gap up, it likes to come back and fill the gap. So I'd be kind of watching for a gap fill. Depending on where it gaps up or gaps tonight and tomorrow, I'll make that decision in the room. Now, if it gaps down, I won't touch it. But if it stays at 97 or plus, I will definitely look at it for a play on tomorrow underneath 96 for a gap fill down to the 91. So BABA, I'll definitely keep an eye on. Facebook. Now, Facebook, it gapped up, had massive earnings, but the market kind of killed it on Friday. So if the market is green and has a good day, any of the days, I would watch it over 208, assuming it doesn't fill the gap. But if it stays up in this area, I would watch it over 208 for a push to, obviously, that's 210 to 220 area. If it gets up at 220, I mean, you get 230 and stuff like that. So now ROKU. Roku did fairly okay with earnings, but it just it came back and filled the gap. And this Roku just, it cannot get any momentum. I missed the old days of Roku where it would have a $20, $30 day and it would just rip. I mean, the put to call ratio on Roku must be like, there must be a lot of short interest on this, because one of these days this thing is just gonna rip. You're gonna blink and it's gonna be above 250 in a flash. But right now it doesn't seem to be the case. Anytime it gets any sign of momentum or life, that it just gets smashed on. So at one point it's not going to get hammered on and it's just going to put in a massive green candle, but right here, smashed. So I would watch it over 190, over 95 and over 100. It does get over 100. We may actually see that monster move. We could end up seeing a push to 140 really quick. I mean, Roku has these days where it can have a $20 day, no problem. I mean, what's the range on this one? 112 to 135. That's a $23 day right there. So that we could end up seeing this kind of a day right here. So $20 would be 120, 125 right here. So have to keep an eye on Roku. Now Tesla is the last one. Tesla is just getting hammered on because Elon's little Twitter buy, and everyone's thinking he's going to get distracted and it's going to take his eye off the ball on Tesla, and Tesla's going to suffer the consequences because of Twitter and stuff like that, which I can understand that point of view. So we'll have to see if it will have more downside. I mean, I would watch it underneath the, what is this, 870? I mean, I'd watch it under 850. That's a pretty big significant area. If it does manage to get under 850, it's probably going to end up testing the 820 low. And if it gets to the 820 low, it's probably going to go to 800. Now, what it does at 800, it's going to be a do or die for Tesla, because you look at the daily, 800 is where it bounced here. It tipped under, but it came back and recovered. Under a little bit, then it fully recovered and made a nice little run. So 800 is a do or die for Tesla. It gets under 800. I mean, it could go to 705. I mean, actually, what is this? 780, then 750, then you get 730, and you get 700. So 800 is going to be a big level for Tesla. So maybe it will turn around, but I think that it's going to be more downside. I think everyone thinks that Elon Musk is going to put more focus into Twitter than Tesla, and Tesla's going to suffer because of it. And that's I can understand why they would think that, and I would too, but we'll have to see if that actually happens. So that's going to do it for the watch list. What I'm thinking, what I'm looking at. Hopefully this week will be very, very volatile. I think it will, with all the stuff on the horizon this week. So hope to see you in the room and hope to crush it this week. So that's going to do it. Thank you for watching.